Hello, hello. Welcome to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco. I'm with Five Talents Commercial Real Estate. This is the Five Talents podcast. So we are excited today to have a special guest, one of actually my good friends, an individual that I met through multifamily networking and in the real estate networking side. And just super happy, super blessed to have him in my circle of friends. And I thought he would be an ideal person to interview today, since he is a passive investor. He's an active investor, and he's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of insight that I've learned from him myself. And so without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Craig Carlson, Dr. Craig Carlson, if I can.
Hello, Abel.
Hey, how's it going, Craig? You doing okay?
It's a great day. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, just first, let me thank you. Really appreciate you taking the time to, to share a few of your insights and nuggets with us. And, I know that you're going to provide a lot of value. So, really just want to, dig in. Could you start first with maybe your current, I'm going to ask you a few questions about your past, but maybe with the current, your real estate picture today. So I know you're a passive investor. I know you're in some certain number of doors, multifamily, but maybe you can enlighten us and the viewers or listeners a little bit of background about, your current real estate position today as it pertains to multifamily.
I started into multifamily in March of 2019 and started taking education and courses and got a mentor and started learning all I could. And so now I have, I'm in 12 different syndications, 2,400 doors. I'm a passive in most of those, but I've been a sponsor in one, and I'm getting ready to sponsor another one. And I've got some other things. I've got one flip I'm working on.
Yeah. I have a feeling I know who your partner is on that one.
Yeah, I think you know.
Yes, sir. Well, that's awesome. 12 syndication investments. So you've invested passively 12 times, 12 different deals, and a total of 2,400 doors. Is that primarily in Texas? Are you in multiple markets? Give us an idea of that.
Yeah, most of them were in Texas, and I've got 2 in Arizona and 1 in Georgia. And in Texas, they're in primarily in DFW, but also have 1 in Houston and 1 in San Antonio, and yeah, that's it.
All right, that's awesome. That's amazing. I definitely want to dig in further on this, but before, I still want our listeners, viewers to get a good understanding of you didn't just jump into 12 deals and 2,400 units. You had some bit of background, and even you had a lot of years of experience as a personal entrepreneur, an owner, and you've had a tremendous background personally. So maybe if you can share with us a little bit. I said Dr. Craig Carlson. Tell us about your background. What brought you here at this point?
Well, I've always liked real estate, and in the '80s, I had a friend who would buy ranches and invited me to be a partner with him, and so we would buy uh, ranches in the Texas Hill Country that had live water. They had to have a creek or a river or something, and we would go in and we would improve them. We would put on dams. We would clear away the underbrush, would improve the entrance. It was kind of a value add play, and that worked wonderfully. We did 3 of those in maybe 4 years, and then the 1986 Tax Act killed that business as far as it changed what you could write off as far as your interest on loans. And it also killed the savings and loan industry. But that was just an unintended consequence of that 1986 tax law. So I was glad when they finally updated it with the 2017. That was it was that long between new tax laws.
Wow. So, okay, so you started in real estate in the 80s, land deals. And were you doing this full time, or your profession was already a doctor or dentist?
Yes, I was a full-time dentist and owned my own practice and ran my own business. And
how long did you do that for?
A long time, 50
Well,
years.
did you?
You made me say it, didn't you?
Sorry, I'm sorry. No, I really want to know from a year. That's what you always did. You practiced, and then you were an owner for all the years.
Yes, and on the side, I owned some rental houses. I built a commercial, a medical dental building
Nice.
that I was a tenant and an owner of. That was a development. I flipped some raw land. I bought a 68-unit motel.
Nice.
It was a real fixer-upper and really took more time than I wanted to, but we built it for the year for the capital gains and made a profit. So I was really glad to be out of that and to learn about financing back then. I helped found a national bank and was on the board of directors and the loan committee. So I learned something about financing and financing real estate.
All of this while you had your own business, practicing and doing this on the side.
Yeah. Real estate pretty nice. You don't have to. It doesn't take that much time.
So let me ask on this, because I think mindset is so important, right? You obviously went to school, you got your education. This was when you were younger. You're now practicing, dentist, doctor. You have your own practice. You're an entrepreneur. You're doing all these things on the side. I have a feeling there were probably people like you in the fact that they want to practice dentistry, but they probably didn't own their own business and they don't own their own, practice and things like that. What was it that you think separated you from everyone else? And what was it about that mindset that it said, you know what, I can do this and all of these other things at the same time?
I'm not sure, Abel. I just felt confident. I did a lot of education. I just didn't go do things. As a dentist, I took more continuing education than any other dentist I knew. And so that helped me be more successful in dentistry. And I guess I love to learn. I was also learning about real estate and reading books and that sort of thing. The tax advantages were kind of the incentive that got me into real estate. And in fact, that's what got me back into real estate in 2017 when the Trump tax law came out.
Yep.
And I noticed the change in the segmental depreciation on used assets, and so that helped. I was interested in sheltering my dental income since I was paying. Well, that was my biggest expense, as it is most people's biggest expense.
Got it. Yeah. So the education, I think I heard a number of things, right? Each one of those I think is super valuable for our listeners. The education, the constant learning. I heard, well, you took more education in your field than most of the other, maybe peer group that you were associated with. And this was education specific to your profession.
Yep.
That's what you did. I learned how to do a new procedure, a new whatever it was.
Yeah. And that made me more successful than I don't know, every dentist I knew, but certainly more successful than the majority of the dentists that I knew.
I think that is important to touch on, because that's, it's a big mindset of mine. I know you personally, and I've learned that about you, which I've tried to apply as much as possible for myself. And I think for any listener or viewer listening, it's like, you really need to understand that you've got to constantly continue learning, bettering yourself, getting knowledge, getting education. It doesn't stop at high school. It doesn't stop in college. It doesn't stop afterwards. And the pursuit of this, like Dr. Carlson said, is, man, enabled him to advance himself beyond, some of the people that he associated with, which is awesome. And I'm sure that extra, I'll make an assumption that you would tell me if I'm right or not. The extra income from the success is what probably enabled you or allowed you to do some of your land deals, the motel deals, some of the things like that, and just kind of all, pulled together. Is that right?
Yeah. Someone said, he who has the most knowledge wins. Maybe that's in every field.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's applicable. I was in IT sales for 13 years, and I felt like the more that I learned in that field, every year it changed just so rapidly. The more that I learned, the more that I could educate as I was winning new business, and it definitely helped me throughout all my years. And everybody that came on board, new salespeople, same thing, constant learning, constant education. If I was the source for knowledge, I would win bigger deals and kind of help my people win bigger deals too. So anyways, that's awesome. So that education, that's part of the underlying story, Craig Carlson, from years and then now to today. So I heard an interesting point. You started a bank, you chartered a bank. What, man, I know we're talking about multifamily, but this is super interesting. What in the world does it take to start a bank? How does that happen?
Gosh, it was back in the 80s. I'm not sure I remember, but a group of us got together and filed for a federal charter and were approved, and just went out and built a building and hired some bank president and other people to run the bank. And so you just, whatever you want to learn, you just go out and learn it, and then you do it.
Man, it sounds so it's foreign to me, that's for sure. And I'm sure some of our listeners, because I think there's very few people that have started a bank. But the point, I love hearing it again. If you didn't know how to do it, you just learn the information, go figure it out. I like the syndication kind of model. You pulled a bunch of resources together. You may not have been able to do it on your own, I'm assuming.
Right.
But you pulled a bunch of people together, and everybody had their own talents. Everybody brought their own resources. Everybody brought their own. How many people was it, total, roughly speaking, you can remember?
I think there were 8 of us.
Man, that's awesome. How long did you do that for?
How long did we?
Yeah, did you run the bank, or how long did that venture continue?
We sold out to a bigger bank after 3 or 4 years.
And that's awesome. Hey, congrats on that. Hello, hello. You're listening to the Five Talents Podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? Then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the Five Talents Podcast. We really appreciate it. So you've got a lot of experience. You're a professional. You're doing well. I heard land. I heard a bank. I heard a motel. How many units in general back then?
68 units.
68 units. Okay. So there's some period of time that goes by that you're not doing real estate in because you lost your tax advantages. You learned something new. 2017, Trump. I had somebody on the podcast. If you're listening, you'll find one of the other guests talks literally about cost segregation studies, depreciation, and accelerated depreciation. So what got you personally excited about this? And, how did it help you personally?
Well, I was about ready to retire, but I couldn't just retire and have nothing to do. I need to have a purpose in life. Everyone needs a purpose in life, is my feeling. And so I thought, how about real estate and helping others by investing in apartment units that could be made better for the tenants and get a tax write-off at the same time. What could be wrong with a win-win situation like that? And so I just started learning about multifamily. Well, first I started just with a Rich Dad seminar, and
for everyone, that's where me and Craig met. We ponied up for some education in real estate, and we met there. I have mine ad, but let you continue, man. I cut you off. Go ahead. So yeah, Rich Dad Education.
And signed up for their program and realized after a short time it was mostly single family, and you just can't scale with single family. I didn't want to own 100 rental homes. And so we met someone at one of the seminars, and she told us about multifamily. And so we went to the multifamily seminar and signed up for their program. So, it took a lot of capital because I signed up for too many programs, but it's all been returned. Having the knowledge, and you never lose the knowledge. So not only has it been returned, but it's going to keep on being returned. So I'm not sorry I spent the money.
Yeah. So me and Craig were, I forget what city we started in because we went to multiple cities. I think I went to like 13 or 14 cities over this, 2-year period. And I have a feeling, you could probably count the number of events that we went to together. Anyways,
yeah.
We were at the table and I met Craig and his friend, his wife, and we're sitting like, kind of catty corner, and are you here for the education courses? Yes, I'm here for real estate. Okay, great. You want to join us? And we have lunch, and we started talking about other partners that we know in the business, and we start talking about, who we knew in San Antonio, Texas. And I go, oh, I'm from San Antonio. We're from San Antonio. Oh, okay, great. And we're on a bus tour and we're kind of, hanging out together, et cetera, et cetera. So all through this time, I experienced the same, Craig, with an education standpoint. I like ponied up, wanted to make sure I got an education because that's what allowed me to keep doing, just like you, to keep advancing and progressing. And no matter what happens, the education, it'll never be lost. We may win, lose, or draw on a deal or two, but we understand the process and we get better each time. So I think it's extremely valuable. And the other part that you mentioned is networking. I met you, I'm super pleased and happy with, and we're partners together on a deal. And then we met another individual that told us about another program. And as expensive as the programs were, many multiple, and took a little capital, it's like, man, that money is just returned as almost as quickly as we spent it, right? Which I think is super valuable.
Yeah.
So you started in single family education, you went to multifamily education. What was it to you that was like, light bulb goes off, I need to drop single family, or kind of, push away from this and go to multifamily? What was it for you in that?
It just made sense. It was like, boom. Oh yeah, that's what I want. And also with the multifamily, the people in the group that you and I are in, the networking was just great. The people that I've met, I feel like I've met a lot of lifelong friends in the last 2 years with common interests, common goals. Everybody's there to help one another. That's why we're doing this podcast, to help anybody who hasn't been there before. Whatever we can offer, we're more than willing. Mm-hmm. And that's the way the whole group of investors in multifamily that I've been around has been.
I've met very few people that were not willing to help in our multifamily investment community. And when I think back on my professional career, I met some pretty successful people, and a lot of people did help me through, but they helped me in my profession, in my career. They helped me advance at work, but there were few people that were very successful in their personal lives that could say, Abel, to make your first $1 million, you need to do X, Y, and Z. To create financial freedom, you need to follow this set of steps and plan and process. And to able to, to create legacy for your family, this is how I did it. Like, I'm experiencing this how I did it. In my professional career, that was not available to me. And while they helped me make more W-2 income, probably that's what a lot of my mentors and coaches knew, right? And now in the multifamily investment community, it's like, oh yeah, I've created multi-millions. I've got a repeatable process and a system, and they're open and willing to share it with you. And in fact, they're a lot of times willing to have you come into the partnership, into the opportunity, into as partners. And I would agree with you 100,000%, right? It's a great community.
Well, the tech industry you were talking about, those people hadn't been there before. They didn't know how to make you financial success because they were W-2s, Yep. So you have to fly with the eagles if you want to be an eagle.
I agree, my friend. So I hope my IT sales friends are watching this episode. I think it would be a good one.
I hope my dental friends are watching.
Yeah, right on. So let me make sure we're good on time. I don't want to keep you more. Okay. So today, let me jump into, probably some of our listeners are like, 12 deals, 2,400 doors. I don't even know how to wrap my head around that. And 2 years ago, I did the same. Mind exploded multiple different times as I heard people say, I'm invested in 500. I'm invested in 1,000. I'm into 2,400 doors.
My goal,
yes,
last March was 300 doors.
Oh, hold on, a
What a,
year ago,
what a
March.
pansy door goal. I mean, I just.
Woo! So your goal a year ago was your kind of pie in the sky at that point was, man, if I could just get in 300 doors.
Yeah.
And now you're literally at 2,400. So
Yeah.
let's dive into this a little bit. You know, don't get too technical for some of our listeners, but let's just go through the mindset. Like, how does that happen? Give me some mindset for you on like your journey, maybe through the first couple of deals, and then okay, things get cooking, and then give us a little insight here.
Well, one thing we learned in our continuing education, you and I both, that the first thing you want to look at is the sponsors who are doing the deal. And do you like these people? Do they have a track record? Have they been successful? Why should you put money with them? And then you look at the deal, and does the deal make sense? And I turned some deals down, but I saw a lot that made sense. And what I've of the 12 deals, I'm getting a cash flow. Let me look over here at this thing. It's been 10.2% annual cash flow. I don't know how technical I should get, but
No, this is good.
IRR, internal rate of return on those 12 deals is 15%. And the total return projected would be 81%. So in 3 to 5 years from getting in those deals, I think I'll get all my money back plus 81%.
Man,
so
that's amazing.
Let's real estate is the only game in town these days. There's no yield on your money in the anywhere else.
You told me a term a few weeks ago at our personal mastermind, right? And that term was Tina. Maybe you can share for some of the viewers, listeners right now. What's Tina? What is
Tina
that?
Is short for there is no alternative. if you want cash flow, if you want money back.
If you want cash, if you want to invest for yield, which is, hey, I'm going to put $10 in and I want, $8 back, right? This yield and, at a certain rate of return, which is Craig's talking about a cash on cash return. If I put $10 in, 10% is $1. If I put in $1 million, 10% return is $100,000 of cash flow. So you're looking at that and you're saying, where can I invest that money that will bring me a yield, bring me some return? And the term today that we're hearing is Tina. There is no alternative. And capital's literally, I mean, we're recording, it's August 2020. We've had some pandemic issues and the markets have gone back. They've restricted, they've loosened. We had another spike. It's come back. And now, people are just capital. When I say people, but capital is searching for any place for yield right now, and they're struggling to get it. But here is Mr. Craig Carlson with the goal March 19 to do 300 doors, and now he's in 2,400, and he's yielded a 10% cash flow even in the midst of everything going on. That's awesome. And then the return, I heard I boiled it down to like 1.8x, right? So for those that don't know, if you're reading an offering memorandum, PPM, you're seeing this number. Well, what's my total average annualized return? What's an IRR? What's a cash on cash return? You can boil all that stuff down to what Craig said is if I invest $100,000, 1.8x return means I gave 100, I get 180 back. My original seed is 100 and I get 80K back. If you invested $1 million, you got the million out there and you're looking for 1.8 million, which is a total return, which is pretty amazing, pretty impressive. So the stats are awesome. Thanks a lot for this, Greg. When you vetted your sponsors, when you vetted the deals, March 19, you probably vetted it differently than you vet a deal today. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit, like, how did you do it in the beginning? And then now you've gotten a lot more experience. You got more education. What's changed maybe now? That'd be awesome to hear.
Between last year and this year, I've just, through networking, learned a lot more about the sponsors and the people I want to be with. And you want to be with people you like. Why would you invest with somebody you don't really like? I've learned more about reading financial statements. I've learned more about underwriting, if that's not too big a term to use. And
Not at all.
so it just a deeper learning of the same basics that I learned early last year.
Yeah. And so now you're more experienced. That term underwriting, it's you're doing the analysis. For those that don't know, you're looking at a building, looking at the income coming in, you're looking at the total expenses. It drives a net operating income. And then you put this thing in an Excel and you analyze a trailing 12 months. You look at a rent roll, you put it all together, and it gives you an idea of how much the property is generating for net operating income. And then you look at this analysis maybe for the next few years. Well, do I increase rents? Do I reduce rents? How do I do that? So that underwriting process that Craig's talking about, now, a year later, you're probably digging in pretty heavily into this underwriting, or starting to. Even your first deals, though, you didn't know how to underwrite a deal, right? Or did you?
I knew a little something, not very much. So I had to go on trusting the sponsors and just checking out the people who were syndicating the deal.
I did the same thing. Like, you put a pro forma in front of me, and I could see how much the rents are going to come, but I didn't know there was assumptions that drove that in the beginning. And I'm like, I knew somebody, I liked him, I trusted him. It's got a good track record. It's a lot of trust in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And the minimums of these investments, 50 grand, right? So it's like, well, you better have some serious trust. Craig mentioned something in between that. He said the word networking. You networked and found, initial sponsors, ongoing. You've realized, different teams, different strokes for different folks. And even in the beginning, though, I'm sure you may have, asked around. You talked to them, you asked them a ton of questions, you interviewed them, and that's what allowed you to build up some trust, I'm sure, and then say, okay, I'm getting in the deal.
Yes, you're right.
What was it that allowed you to I assume, did you have fear in jumping into your first or second deal?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What was it that allowed you to overcome that fear, the obstacle?
Well, I just kept my eye on the goal. I knew where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, and so I just went for it.
That's awesome. Just go for it. For those listening, like, you got to let go at some point. You got to be able to say, you know what, it is a risk. We're taking a risk. I mean, what's the alternative? Is no risk taken, and then you're going to, work.
Oh, no risk taken. Put your money in the bank. You're a sure loser. That money's going to go down in value.
We already heard there is no alternative, right?
That's right. Yeah.
There is no alternative. That's awesome, man. I appreciate just the mindset. I think it's very valuable for people to learn. So you had that fear overcome, got to go for it. And along the way, developed additional skills and a bigger network, right? So how did you give me some tactical things that you do maybe today to continue building the network and to continue learning? What are the, some of the tactical steps? If somebody says, well, how do I even start? What do I do? Like, what are some of the things that you're doing today, networking and tactical steps to learning? That'd be awesome.
Well, of course, there's Zoom meetings. Those are become primary. I I can learn from Zoom, but I can't network very much. So I look forward to the time when we can go back to hanging out with people and hotels and going out to dinner with them and really getting to know people.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to network on Zoom. So anyway, I do a lot of webinars. I mean, probably every day. I watch YouTube. I call that the source of all knowledge, but you can learn so much if you go to YouTube. And so I have a mastermind group with you and a few other entrepreneurial thinking people. That's very valuable to me. I'm just online all day since I've sold my practice and don't have an office to go to.
Yeah.
I'm free to just learn all the time. So I'm just being a sponge.
Your new job is learning, and
Yeah,
that's kind of what you're
I
doing.
love it.
And that's awesome. That's very beneficial. So for those that don't know the term mastermind, um, you were the one who created a mastermind that we're in right now, and it's been very beneficial. We meet every couple of weeks and put our heads together, look at the markets in each of our own maybe perspective, areas of expertise or knowledge or what we're seeing, and then we bring that back to the group and everybody's learning. Right? What prompted you to start your own mastermind?
Oh, I've had masterminds in the past with my dental practice. I guess I learned it from Earl Nightingale, and but when I started my dental practice, I got people together outside of dentistry, an attorney, an insurance man, and just different people to meet with me at lunch, and I would tell them what I was doing and show them my numbers and ask them what I should do. And so none of us are as smart as all of us. So I would learn from others.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've done this before. You've had a lot of years of success, and networked with other people and learned from other people that were having success in their areas. So for some of you listening, let me underline that point. You should definitely take advantage of the position that you're in. There are people around you that you have a collective genius. I think was it Think and Grow Rich or something? They kind of mentioned that, a little bit of that too. But you're bringing a collective together, and you're sharing those insights and knowledge. I enjoy people that are a couple steps ahead of me. I enjoy people that are like 5 or 10 steps ahead of me, and then I enjoy learning from people that are like just beyond, like stretching my mind more than finding out how they did it. And if you can get around other people that are in that same mindset, you're going to learn and you're going to grow, right? So that's
Yeah,
great.
your net worth is the average of the 5 closest people around you, they say. But I tell you what, you were mentioning all the people who are above us, but one of the real blessings is to be able to help those who haven't been there before and who we can mentor.
Okay, so thank you. Thanks, Craig. You mentioned something earlier. There's a couple things that I know about you, but whatever you feel comfortable sharing. You mentioned you enjoy investing in this area because of the community aspect. It was a win-win for a bunch of people, right? We invest for cash flow and return, and that's great. But there's some benefits also. Maybe from your perspective, share with us, those benefits of helping others, of giving back, and what this means.
Well, I like to think that in the apartment communities that I'm in, especially where I'm sponsoring, that we can help people. We can make their life better. We can make, if you have a Mother's Day day at the apartments where you give all the moms a flower, just something, anything to brighten their day, to enrich their life. Uh, Putting up a playground for the kids if there wasn't the playground. Having any kind of after school activity. It just all the little things that don't seem to matter, but maybe they're the most important.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, 100%. You know, we can operate a building and it's a place to live, or you can kind of sow into the community. Yeah. If you sow into the community, you realize, oh, there's people, there's families, everyone's got their own story, their backgrounds, and man, the fact that you pull together some people and bring out some $7 Little Caesar pizzas, right? I don't know if they're $7, maybe they're 10, but everybody comes together and you build that little community. And even times I know a lot of sponsors and other individuals that they couldn't bring everyone together literally because of COVID, but they did other things. They went all different alternatives and left them some things at their doorsteps and tell them we appreciate them, or had some other kind of safe way to create that environment, which is awesome. There's another, now that you mentioned, there's a nonprofit called Apartment Life. For anybody that's listening, Apartment Life is it's a nonprofit. They will take a unit, they ask for a unit at a discounted price, and they'll put a couple, married couple, who, whatever the situation is, people that want to start ministry in the apartments, complexes, and they create this community involvement. Like, for somebody like me that I may say, I don't, it's hard for me to think of these ideas. Maybe Christmas, New Year's, okay, those are simple. But beyond that, they go in and they create their own, community Bible study, community lessons and stuff like that. But it creates those community, whether the people in the apartment complex are believers or not, it doesn't matter. You're creating this community involvement, and they set up those things. So you put them in, and then, as crazy as it sounds, right? They're like, well, why would I give an apartment unit for 50% to this group and organization and fund these pizzas and pay for that? Well, when you look at their data and their stats from a business aspect, they actually can show and prove the fact that the increased in community involvement decreases occupancy, decreases tenant turnover, which increases our profit on the building.
Decreases vacancy.
Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I can
brings,
see that.
Keeps our renters here and keeps them from leaving, and increases our NOI. It's just amazing, amazing how that works, huh?
Apartment Life.
Yeah, for somebody that.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. We'll put that in the show notes. So, okay, well, I don't want to take up a ton of your time, even though I could ask you a ton more questions. Is there any last final, things you want to leave any of the viewers, listeners with, or any last golden nuggets that we didn't talk about?
None that I can think of off the top of my head, but if anybody has any questions, I'm available and I'll be glad to respond. My email is craigcarlson@gmail.com. So ask away and I'll do all I can for you.
Dr. Craig Carlson. I will make sure to put that in the show notes. And so you're also, last thing before you go, you're now actively sponsoring deals. I think you said a term earlier, which you're taking an active role. You're a general partner. You're going to be leading these opportunities. Is that right?
Correct.
You've been active in one or two deals and looking for another one, or?
We're about to close on the second one where I'm active and part of the management team.
Congratulations. So in the future, if anybody is interested in learning more about Craig, you know where to reach him. And then also, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk with you about future investment if you so desire. And are you guys kind of still focusing in Texas for your active deals, or those will kind of be spread around, or what's your take on that?
Well, I'm open to other states, but Texas sure is business friendly and things are looking good. And it's a great place to be.
I like Texas too, my friend. Okay, well, I'm not going to take up any more time. I appreciate it, Craig, and thank you for your time. Truly appreciate it. I'm Abel Pacheco with the 5 Talents Commercial Real Estate. our Five Talents podcast. So we're just getting started and look forward to hopefully have you listen to our next show. Our website is www.5tcre.com. This guy right here, 5tcre.com. And look forward to having you and stay connected. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Five Talents Podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who followed their dreams and achieved massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the Five Talents Podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked, tell us your favorite guest, give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the Five Talents Podcast.